I've been in sales for more than half a decade. I've closed thousands of deals before ever becoming COO and part owner of Net Revenue, where we now manage 50 plus businesses. We generate tens of millions of dollars in monthly revenue for our clients, and we manage over 150 sales professionals, which means I've seen exactly what separates the top 1% of sales professionals from the rest that never get close to hitting their goals. And the cool part is it has nothing to do with the skills. It has everything to do with the systems they build their day around as a salesperson. So in the video that you're about to watch, I'm walking you through the exact closer operating system that I built for myself when I was selling to become the top closer on every offer I've ever sold for. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to day three. Yeah, day three, 2.5, I guess, for our boardroom folks. How are we all doing today? Good? Good? Everyone was good last night? Nobody caused too much trouble? Good, good. Who watched the fights last night? Yeah, it was a letdown, right? Anyone? Just me? Big letdown. All right, guys. Listen, so obviously John did a phenomenal job. For those, I'm the COO of Net Revenue. I've had the chance to obviously meet most of you so far. If I haven't, please make sure we do meet before the weekend is over. It's really important that I get to connect with everybody here. We're gonna get pretty tactical today. So I know it's early. I know you guys have been probably having a lot of fun all weekend, staying up late, and some of you guys are East Coast and the time zone's screwing you up. We're gonna get pretty tactical. So I need you guys to really focus. We're gonna take notes. I got I think 40 slides to just pump through in the next 45 minutes. So I'm gonna try to move as quickly as possible. So what I need from you guys is just pen in hand, document, get ready to take notes. Because what I'm gonna go through is the operating system that I used when I was closing as a sales rep, okay? I'm gonna go through end to end. I'm gonna show you guys exactly the setup I had, the tools I used, and my workflows from day to day. Cool? We all on the same page? All right, good. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to say how just incredibly impressed I am with every single person in this room. You've all invested in yourself. You've all traveled from far and wide. You've all left your families. You've all taken time away from making money to be here today and meet new people and connect with your teammates and connect with other people in your industry. And for that, I have tremendous amount of respect for you guys. Most people don't invest in themselves. Most people don't travel across the world or travel across the country to come to a conference where they can learn from people like Jeremy Miner and Net Revenue and Jason Wojo, Nate Johnson. But you guys don't want to be like most people. You guys are all here because you probably have very big goals, you probably have very big ambitions, and you're willing to do what most people won't to make that happen. I mean, I had a conversation just 20 minutes ago with, I think, Chris right over here, who drove, how far did you drive, Chris? 28 fucking hours. Guys, give it up for Chris. Chris slept in his car to make it here. How long do you sleep in your car for? 2-3 hours? To make it here on time and to be present for the entire event. That to me it shows the difference between the people who are willing to do what it takes and the ones who aren't. And when that stacks up every day over a long enough time horizon, the true difference to them is just almost unmeasurable. And the gap just builds and builds and builds. So, before we dive into the fun stuff and the tools and the smart lists and the workflows, I'm gonna give you guys my background because my background is pretty crucial as to how I developed these skills and these tools in the first place, okay? And you'll have to forgive me. I'm gonna do some water breaks because I've been screaming at you hooligans all week and my throat is just suffering a little bit. So most people don't know this. A lot of you do now because I spoke about it for the first time on a podcast with Amber. I should probably hold on to that. When I started the company, I was working as a plumber. I know, you guys are probably surprised. I'm handsome, I'm smart, I'm intelligent. You, a plumber? What? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I was working as a plumber. I was working the trades. I was doing side jobs, construction. I went to school with Ambro for engineering. I was actually one of the top in the class in engineering, but I had the same realization that Ambro did, which was what? I can only make 80 grand a year? Fuck this. I was number 2 in the class behind, some Syrian engineer that like was already an engineer, but he had to redo it. So I was like, screw this. I dropped out. I had a cousin who was a plumber who was doing really, really well. I was very inspired by him. And I was like, well, hey, I can go and get paid and for the time that I do, not be on like a salary. And I was like, that's genius, right? That's so smart. So I went into the trades. And then obviously, lo and behold, I met Ambro. I saw what he was doing. I'm like, whoa, I could like not just get paid for the time that I do and the work that I do, but how good I am. That's genius. That's so smart. I can't believe I didn't think of that. And then, that's when my sales journey began. So I didn't actually, if I would go back in time, I would do it differently, but I didn't quit construction or plumbing right away. I worked in the company for about a year and a half before I was really able to take that chance on myself. There's a lot of reasons for that, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but for about a year and a half. So when I was closing and when I was competing with guys like Ambro and Daniel, who are some of the best salespeople in the industry, I had to compete with these guys. I was only doing it with like 4 hours to 5 hours a day. I was working 9 hours a day. That was for the first year and a half. For the entire time while I was closing, I was also fighting professionally and as an amateur for the beginning part. So not only was I really handicapped by working during the day on the job site, and you can ask Ambro, I would jump into team meetings because we do our team meetings at the time only once a week on Mondays, twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. I would I'm going to the bathroom, and I would in my orange vest and my hard hat, and I'd run to the bathroom, and I'd jump on the team meeting, get my Zoom set up, say hi to everyone, turn my camera off, and then I'd go back to work and just start drilling at whatever I was trying to break that day. It was not an ideal setup by any stretch of the imagination. Then I would get home, I would do whatever sales calls I could, then come 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'd go train, and I'd train for 2 to 3 hours. I'd get home at about 12:30, and then I would start the next day at 5 a.m., and I did that for a year and a half when I was plumbing and fighting and selling. Okay? So the reason I'm going through all of this for you guys is because it's important to understand the serious time disadvantage I had. Okay? Not just time disadvantage, though, mind you. I also wasn't very good at sales. That didn't help either. Ambrose said terrible. It did help, though, if you guys, Jeremy was talking about pattern interrupts yesterday, and he did the whole silence and pointing at you guys thing. A really good pattern interrupt is showing up to a sales call with a big black eye from your last fight. That's a great pattern interrupt. It really makes you feel human on the sales call. Okay, so on top of all those disadvantages, about a year and a half later, I was able to replace my income in sales. It was a very hard year and a half. There was a lot of ups and downs and ups and downs. Ambro, how many times did you debate firing me within that year and a half? At least 6 times. We had probably 3 last chance calls where Ambro was like, hey, if you can't do it this week, you're done. And I was like, I figured it out. And then I did it. And then so we had that probably about 3 times. So it was not supposed to happen. Then I was able to go from quit plumbing, go full-time into closing. I was able to move into leadership. I was able to move into operations, COO, and now part owner of the company today. Thank you. That was the perfect time to clap because I really needed water. So when you guys see me reach for the water, just start clapping. That actually really helps. That's great. It's like my tech issues, okay? So, I've been totally forgetting to turn these slides. What's going on? Probably the number one question I got throughout this entire time from everybody, my mom, my dad, my brother, everybody in the company was, how do you balance it? How do you do all this? You're living 3 lives in one, and you're crushing it. I'll say it, crushing it at all of them. How do you balance it? And I'll be honest, first, I don't actually recommend pursuing that many things at once. If I go back in time, I would have let go of my job much, much earlier, and I would have just taken the chance on myself because I had big goals and I shouldn't have wasted that time in the first place. So I don't actually recommend doing all that. But I had big dreams. I was fighting, and I wanted to earn. I knew that you're not going to make a real living as a professional fighter unless you're in the top 1%. So I did what I had to do. Now, yes, discipline, work ethic, consistency, yes, they all helped. And they were all important and they were all crucial. And I'm really good at all of those 3, mind you. What really, really, really supported me throughout that entire time was the fact that I was just system oriented. I just built a workflow for my day. I built a system for everything I did, and I tried to make it as easy as humanly possible to exceed in what I was trying to accomplish with tools, with workflows, with processes. That, the truth is, why I was able to get so much done and cram so much into that time. And that's why I wanted to bring you guys back to how I got started, because I don't think I would be standing here as COO and building the systems for the team that we have today if I didn't have to go through that and build that foundation. I outsystem the people who outworked me. It helps that not many people outworked me, by the way. That's definitely, it helped. But I outsystem them, and that's, again, is what allowed me to make all those transitions. I was supposed to be on this slide a while ago, so bear with me. The theme of today is that skill is the asset, systems are the multiplier. Okay, guys, the reality is here, I've closed thousands of deals. Thousands. I don't know the exact number. Millions and millions and millions. I was closing for 4 years. I've closed in probably every industry you could think of at one point or another. But I am probably about 5% qualified compared to, or 5% as qualified to talk to you guys about sales than Jeremy Minor. Well, Jeremy Minor, I'll say 0.5%. Then even Ben Prevost, then Travis, John, Ambro. For me, I definitely invested in the asset and I got good at it. But investing in the systems and investing in the process of my day-to-day and the tools that I use is what really multiplied the skill set that I built. So everything I'm showing you here today, you'll be able to compound it onto the skill set that you've been building in learning sales, not just this weekend, but forever how long you guys have been in sales for, you're learning every single day. It's going to be a compounding effect. So let's dive into the actual meat and potatoes. Are you guys excited to start learning about smart lists and workflows and AI? Yeah! Heck yeah, okay. So the truth is, I could probably talk about this shit for like 8 hours, but I kind of comprise the most important things that I think allowed me to operate at the speed that I need to operate at. Okay, so it's condensed. I'm gonna move a little bit quick. Again, guys, be sharp, take notes, and ready for applause. So I broke up the operating system into 3 parts: smart lists, workflows, and AI. I obviously didn't have AI when I was closing. It didn't exist. But the smart lists and workflows are actually exactly identically what I used when I was selling, like my personal ones. I'm not talking about what your business owner sets up or what the marketing team sets up. I'm talking about your sales rep. What workflows are you setting up to help your day go, okay? And then the AI portion is if I would to, go back in time and I would have to restart, or for whatever happened, Amber was like, hey, Scott, I don't need a CO anymore. Get back on the phones. It's what I would use today. Cool? So, smart list. First thing, who here, show of hands, who here has a sales process that they follow on calls when they're talking to a prospect? I hope everyone does, first of all. If you don't, then you should probably get one. That's pretty important. Who here has a process that they follow when they're not on calls? A little bit less, but still a good chunk. Still a good chunk. Smart lists for me, guys, are how I waste as little time as possible between talking to prospects. Who here's commission only? And if you're a business owner, you're basically commission only, right? Who's commission only? You guys don't get paid to look at your CRM. You don't get paid to scroll through the conversation and try to figure out, what did I say to this guy? You don't get paid to go into your opportunity column and try to find like, oh, who do I follow up with? This guy, I spoke to him. He or even worse, going through your handwritten notes. You guys get paid to talk to people. That's it, bar none. You have to talk to people to make money. So for me, the smart list, I built my own personal smart list to have so that when I finished a call, the lag time between when I was talking to a prospect and on with the next one was that, or at least the phone was ringing, was as little as humanly possible. My Zoom call would finish, I'd open my smart list and I'd hit dial. I didn't have to decide which one. I didn't have to think about which leads. I just hit dial. I had 4 hours a day, guys, when I was plumbing. 4 hours a day. I had to talk to twice as many people as Ambro because Ambro closed twice as much as I did. So not only did I have half the time, I had to talk to twice as many people. This is how I did it. I had a hot list, a warm list, a cold list, and a reactivation list. I'll be honest, I added the reactivation list. I didn't actually have it, but if I would go back, I would add it, okay? I had hot, warm, cold. So, there you go, wrong button. Hot list. All of these lists are built between basically which leads do I need to contact at which time. So my hot list was a 24-hour cadence. My warm list was 3 to 4 days, depending. My cold was 7+ days. Okay, and then my reactivation just had all the leads. It would just have all the leads. I wouldn't have a cadence. All the leads would go in there. Okay, so now I finish my calls. What do? I open up my, who knows? My smart list, my hot list, right? I open my hot list. That's the first one, highest priority. My hot list is empty. There's no leads on my hot list. What do? I open up my warm list, right? My warm list is empty. There's no leads. I open up my cold list. I'm not wasting time. Now, the key is that I've got to make my leads all bucket into these lists effectively. So the hot list, what actually goes inside of the hot list? Now, this might look different depending on your CRM, depending on the leads that you're working, your sales cycle, XYZ, right? This might look different. So what I want you guys to really, really take away from it, if you've got a different process, is really just the act of having these 3 lists, and the filters, you might want to personalize it. But in my case, my hot list was anyone that I pitched this month. I made them an offer. I talked to them about the thing that I'm selling within this month. They're in my hot list. It's also anybody that no-showed or canceled within the last 7 days. So a no-show and cancel, I didn't talk to them about the offer. I'm not going to call them every 24 hours for a full month. You might, and then I commend you for that. You'll probably make more money than I did. That's the truth. But I'm not going to call them. I'm going to do it for the first week. Right, so I've got my follow-ups for a month. I've got my no-shows for 7 days. My reschedules that haven't picked a new time, when someone's like, hey, can we put this time, and you're like, yeah, perfect. And then you don't get the time booked. They'll always be in the hot list until they either get a time booked or they tell you to kick rocks. They'll always live there. The leads that have responded to outbound, right? All you guys have like campaigns going out. Your marketing team has campaigns. People are answering emails, answering SMS. So any inbound response will go in that hot list. New leads that haven't been touched, even if they're not assigned to you, in my opinion, I put them in that hot list if they're not assigned to me. I know you might have appointment setters, and you might be like, well, I don't want to take the lead from the appointment setters. Take them. They didn't call them. Call them, right? Put that in your list. And then anything with a task to do today. So I don't like having too many areas to work out of. So even though, who's using Go High Level here? Here, okay, who's using Close? Yeah, so Close is really good because they keep it all in one place. Go High Level doesn't, right? So I don't like having to have a different place to go to do my work. I just want to work in one place. So my tasks, I'll just make sure they filter into the hot list so I don't have to go to my task list. I just do the hot list. If it's due today, I'll hit it. Cool? Like I said, last activity is 24 hours. This is what it actually looks like. If you guys want to take a screenshot, if it's too small, just shoot me a DM. I'll send it to you. You can see the filters. I'm just going to look here. It's much easier. Last activity, more than 24 hours. Opportunity stage is follow-up. Last appointment is this month. And then so you do and for those ones. And then when you get those ones, you do or. Okay, so you get those ones in, then you do or. I'm giving you guys a smart list masterclass here. You could probably YouTube this, but last activity is now more than 24 hours. Now it's no show, and now I would say last appointment is this week. I'm not going to go this month. I'm going to go this week because it's a no show. It's a little bit of a colder lead. Are we getting that so far? Warm and cold lists. I won't go through the whole breakdown because you guys get the idea by now. No shows, cancels between 7 and 30 days old for warm. Last month's follow-ups. And basically anything else that's past the hottest stage. So anything that you've got in the hot list, once it finishes the time duration, that's when you filter into the warm list. So you do the same filters I showed you here, you just change the last appointment. Is now not this month, it's last month, right? The month before. And it's not every 24 hours, it's every 72 hours, right? Or every 4 days, however you want to do it. Cool, and then the cold list is basically my lower priority. If I don't got time, I'll do like an SMS blast, I'll do an email blast, whatever it is. I usually did have time to hit them, but if not, I would do that. And for me, the cold list, I would usually refresh it every quarter. So basically, you'd put again, if we go look at the last appointment is this month, or you could do like created this month, I would do it 90 days so that every quarter it recycles the cold list and it sends them to the reactivation list. And the reactivation list is purely like workflows. Like you're not going to call those ones, in my opinion, unless you've really got nothing else going on. Then you probably should do something. Cool. We tracking so far? Yes. Okay. So the cool thing, this is self-managed. Once you set it up, and you set up those filters that I showed you, these lists manage themselves. You don't have to add people to them or remove them or move them from hot to warm. You don't have to update the opportunity or the appointment or the XYZ. They just manage themselves because it's built on the communication cadence, right? So after the 7 days, right, the no-show, I call them every day for 7 days. After that 7 days, it loses that filter. It moves out of that filter and it goes into your warm list. And now you only have to call them once a week for a month, right? Then it's going to move into the cold list. Are you guys tracking that? Okay, so this list cleans itself. That is probably the most important part out of all of this. Because now if you build all these smart lists and you spend like an hour a day adding leads into your smart list, like I'm going to blow my brains out, right? That's not super effective in any stretch. So super important. For this to work, you have to take notes on every single interaction. If I speak to the prospect, if they answer the phone, if they don't answer the phone, you don't have to take notes. If they answer the phone, I'm leaving notes. And I'm leaving notes as I'm talking to them, not when we hang up. If you can't multitask, then obviously, but again, I really only want to do two things during the day. I want to be talking to someone or I want the phone to be ringing. One of those two. Whether I'm on Zoom, whether I'm on phone, whether I'm talking. If I can do those two things, I promise you guys, the amount that it will compound over time, it will be unrecognizable how far ahead you are from the other people in the same account or offer that you are that are not doing that. If you're talking to 4 times as many people as them per day, could you imagine how much more you could accomplish and how much more you can earn? Okay, so I take notes. I get on the lead, you hit dial. While it's ringing, I read the notes. I don't want to have to scroll up in the conversation. It's a waste of time. So that's smart lists. Oh, I'm a little clumsy. Workflows. Number 2. Yeah. Who was that? Ashley. Fuck yeah. All right. Workflows. So most people here probably have a lot of work, especially the net revenue folks. You guys probably have folders and folders and folders of workflows that your marketing team has built, right? Or the sales manager has built. So I'm only going to talk about like the personal workflows that I would do for myself as a closer, okay? We could go on for workflows forever. There's so many variations you can do, but just the personal ones. The first thing I would do, so I used to have about 4 to 5 workflows that I would have drafted during the month, and they would just be my end of month cleanup workflows. They would be between 2 to 3 touch points and 2 to 3 emails or texts. And then I would have different angles within them. All right, so I might have one for like X objections. I might have one for Y. I might have one for like offering an end of month incentive. One thing we do now that I didn't do then is I might have one for like an end of month Q&A. Of like, hey, I spoke to, a lot of people had a lot of questions. I'm doing a Q&A at the end of the month. It's on Zoom. There'll be a couple other people there. Take a sales call with 10 people. Like that's way more effective. Get all 10 people on a Q&A and just answer their questions. I would do that. I wasn't doing it then. I would, if you guys are doing live events, like a lot of you guys' accounts also have live events, I would offer them like a free ticket, something that you can pull out of the offer and then add it back on as like a bonus. Like your offer or your product or your solution or service probably has like 10,000 things that it does. And when you spoke to them a month ago, you probably spoke about 6 of them, maybe 7 of them in depth, right? So there's probably something that's really valuable that you can pull out. And then you can put it into a reactivation workflow, and every single month, you can hit your list with it. Usually, I would hit the warm and the cold list with it. I wouldn't necessarily hit the hot list with end of month reactivation. They would do it the next month, because the hot list is like, you don't want to start giving them discounts and shit if they're still hot. Cool? So I would do this, and I would have them drafted, and at the end of the month, I would decide. I'd be like, okay, and then if you guys start to learn your CRM a little bit, it's pretty easy. You go into that smart list, you go into the hot list, or the warm list, and you click select all, and you click add to automation, and then you add it to the automation. And then you just contacted 150 people. You're so effective. The next thing I would do is I would tag all of my objections on the lead. Okay, so again, if you're already doing this because your marketing team has asked you to, then great. But if you're not, because the marketing team doesn't do it, I would do it personally. I would tag every objection that I have and keep it congruent, like don't change the wording, keep the same tags. So then when I'm doing my end of month cleanup, I can actually specify it per objection, right? So if I know that I had someone who they didn't perceive the value well, like they didn't believe it was gonna help them, I would offer them the Q&A. And I would say anyone who had a value objection, let's give them a Q&A, right? Or anybody that had a value objection, let's repitch and pull out a part and add it as a bonus. Anyone who had a money objection, let's just hit them with a new buy now, pay later, because WAP probably came out with 10 new ones last month. That's totally cracking the industry, right? So like, I could just hit them with a new one every single time. I could just put it back in and put them in the workflow. Cool, so this, to me, it really pairs well with the end of month workflows. Otherwise, like you're using your notes, you're not really gonna use this on a day-to-day, but you're gonna add those tags. Another workflow I would do as a closer is I would have my own personal Slack channel, and I'd have a notification to send me Slack notifications for every hot lead. So every new booking, you guys probably already have this with everyone else, right? But I would do my own. That at the time, we didn't have one for the whole account, so it was my own. I would still do this. Anybody that responds to you, anybody that answers an email, anybody that inbound SMS, anything like that, I would have them just jump into my Slack because I want to get hit on multiple fronts, right? So again, I was often out of the house. I was often in the gym. I was often XYZ. So to have a Slack notification, be like, new lead, I'd be like, great. And I would go like rip my boxing gloves off and just call the lead. Hey, I saw you booked on my calendar. Great. I'm so excited to talk to you. Well, imagine how much more effective I could be. I'm so much faster than the next guy. The last workflow I'd recommend for everybody here, most people probably have some shape of this already. So if you do, great, but I would have a dialer. A lot of closers think they don't need to have a dialer because they're taking inbound Zoom calls or XYZ, and so they're not using it. They're just hitting call on the phone, right? Which is fine. Like you have an appointment, someone's not showing up, like yeah, just call them. You're not gonna throw them into a dialer. But when you have your hot list, your warm list, and your cold list, and you have a dialer, again, you finish that call, you just open the list and you just click ring, and it'll just start ringing. And then if they don't answer, it'll start ringing the next person, right? Most of us have used it once, so we know how it works. But just because you take inbound calls and you're not an appointment setter, doesn't mean you don't need this tool. Because I promise you, you will call your list 10 times faster. The key here is when you're not talking to a prospect, the phone should be ringing. You will get so much more done. Unless it's like 6 a.m., then probably don't call people because you'll get in trouble. Last part, AI. So before I start on the AI, I actually have a pretty big gripe with how most people are using AI. Most people are kind of doing like this, I can't think of a better word, but mental masturbation with AI, where they're building out these like really complex and convoluted things that they would have never done before, or they would have never solved before because it took too long. But now they're able to solve it with AI. And instead of it taking 4 hours, they could take 1 hour. But it's like you wouldn't have spent that hour anyways before. So you're still losing an hour. So that's what I want you guys to avoid here. We're gonna just talk about some really easy things that you can start doing. The caveat though is like, do this on a Sunday. Don't do this at 1 p.m. on a Monday. Like if I catch anyone on the net revenue team, like in Claude trying to build a workflow and it's 1 p.m. on a Monday, I'm gonna lose it, okay? Do this on a Sunday in the morning, you're out of call hours. That's when you could build this. Cool? If we don't agree to this, I'm not gonna show it. Because if I got net revenue guys building AI workflows, I'm just joking, okay. So, the 3 pillars that we'll talk about for AI as a sales rep, productivity, this is a hard word, analytics, and opportunity. All right, thank you. I fucked that one up like 3 times this morning. So, productivity, analytics, opportunity. Those are the 3 pillars that we're gonna talk about here, okay? Get more hours back, right? Be more productive, more output, more outcome for the same output. Get better visibility and get more opportunity. And truthfully, even for the non-sales reps here, like this is how I would look at how I can use AI in my business. Everything else is just like, if it doesn't fit into one of these buckets, what are you doing? Is it cool? Maybe. Are you building like a really long personalized pitch deck based on their objections for this one person that, you could have just sent them the regular thing and it would have done the same thing, right? So productivity. Get hours back so you can spend them on the phone. The first thing I would do, if you guys aren't using this already, is Whisperflow. Transparently, I made these slides like 2 months ago, and Whisperflow wasn't really popular then. Now everybody knows it, which is great. You should get this. Don't Don't spend your time typing, just talk. It's much easier. And it's not just a transcriber, like it packages up what you're saying in a way that sends and it lands really nicely. And then you could set, it's actually Travis that introduced me to Whisper Flow. So the efficiency and consistency king is the one that introduced me. I'm still giving him credits because I use it every day and he got my referral fee. So I would use this, and you could set in the setting what you're using it for, and you could set that you're using it for like emails or whatever, and then depending what software you're in, it'll know, and then it'll package up what you say really nicely, okay? Next one, I would leverage your transcripts. If you're not doing this already, I think most people are, especially net revenue folks, I would leverage your call transcripts. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of data points from those call transcripts, okay? I would use it for my CRM notes. I would use it for my follow-up sequences, for my case studies. A lot of you guys have like 10 to 15 to maybe 30 to 100 case studies, right? Of like people that your business has helped. I would package those through AI and have a case study match of like which one's the best one for this person. Cool? I would automate my CRM data. So for net revenue, we've already done this with a cool tool that we use called SalesView. Okay, we don't have to update the data anymore. We don't have to move them from no-show to won to loss. It'll do it itself for the most part. Shout out to Shiloh for building SalesView, the phenomenal software. Yeah, I didn't actually want to shout him out. I just wanted water. For those of you who don't have SalesView because you're really unlucky and probably pretty sad, you can do other tools. There's things like, there's these OpenClaw tools. There's a tool called Victor that requires no like technical setup. You can just download it and connect it to your Slack. And it does everything that OpenClaw can do, except it's not like mentally retarded. So it's really, really good. And then Go High Level has an MCP server that you can attach to and you can connect it to. And now you can start setting up these jobs to update the data almost completely automatically, So there are tools that exist for this. Again, Sunday, do this on Sunday. Start doing some research. There are tools that exist for it. But Victor with the Go High Level MCP will work well. If not, just shoot Shiloh like 1,000 phone calls and he'll do it for you, probably. That's what happened for me anyways. Cool, second part, analytics. How am I doing on time? Terrible. Let's move quicker. Okay, so analytics, I would do a monthly data sweep. So at the end of every month, I would pull all of my transcripts and I would put it into the same project, okay? Have a project that does this. Whenever you're doing one of the same thing, do it within an existing project because it'll update the memory of itself. I would use Claude. I would update all those transcripts. I would drop in whatever kind of prompts I need to get back any anomalies in the conversations, any patterns, any things I can change, or anything I can add to the pre-call flow to maybe help, or anything I can add to my nurturing sequences to help me close more deals. Right, this is something that, again, remember I said before, you wouldn't have done it because it takes too long, but then it still takes time. This is actually a high leverage thing. So even though it takes time and you wouldn't have done it before, this is actually really, really high leverage because you can start to see things that you would have never seen prior. And prior it was just recency bias, right? Like you take a call and you'd be like, oh, that guy was not qualified. And then you just like call Jason Wojcik, and be like, that's not qualified, get me better leads, right? Now you can actually get the data and you can see your real data and you can see your real gaps. The key here is you want to look for trends, okay? Look for trends when you're doing this. Don't look for one-offs. Even though emotionally you want to find that one-off that's going to prove your point and going to make you feel better, you want to look for trends. I would look very closely when I do that monthly. I would look at the difference between my won and lost deals. And I would structure my prompts in a way that don't stroke my own ego by any stretch, but I would just look at what is the true difference between my won and lost calls. What are they saying? What am I saying? What is the process I'm taking them through? What is their avatar? XYZ. I would do this once a month if I was closing. One thing we started doing that's actually in compares to all of this is very similar. We started doing AIR reports, avatar intelligence reports. So we basically are doing this is probably much better for the business owners, less so for the sales reps. It's a little bit more complicated, but we pull reports of like 500 to 1,000 booked calls, and then we'll package together a report of like 50 to 60 pages of the messaging differences between the buyers and the non-buyers, right? So like, what are the buyers saying? What are their pain points? What is their background? There's so many data points. Like they're saying so many things on these sales calls. And then what are the non-buyers saying? And then what's the best way in the ads to get rid of the non-buyers, right? Like this is not for you if X, right? What are the best ways to get more of the buyers? And so you can start actually building this in a way where it just kind of tells you how to attract those people. We did this for, I think so far, like 30 businesses. We're doing it every quarter now. One of our businesses that we did it for, their cash collected per book call from 1 month to the next without changing the closers, without changing the setters, just implementing what the air report told us, they went from $860 to about $1,200 cash per book call. Right? I told the boardroom folks about that one yesterday or 2 days ago as well. So that's a big lift. You're a closer, right? So you might want to talk to your marketing team about this. But imagine your cash per book call is $800. So you know you're making $80 for every 45 minutes. Even if they no-show, you're making $80 for every 45 minutes. Imagine you could bring it from 1 month to the next from 80 to 120. You can't do that anywhere else, folks. Like, that's just in sales. That's just in business where you can do that. So these kinds of tools can now create really, really large impact. The third pillar is opportunity. So this is where I would start to think about what opportunities can I create that I could not have in the past with these tools. I would start to think about how can I get access to more people to talk to, right? A lot of you guys are probably limited to marketing, right? Who here does like cold outbound? Does anybody do cold? You do? Yeah, real estate. Anybody else? Yeah, you guys do? Yeah, okay. So like 2 people does cold. Everybody else, like, you have some sort of funnel that brings leads in, right? You have some sort of paid traffic, XYZ. As a sales rep, we all know that 1 month you can make a ton of money and have so many leads, and then the next month, there's like, where'd all the bookings go? Where'd all the leads go? So what I would start to think about for all of you guys here is how can I generate more opportunity and more leads outside of what the marketing team is already bringing me? Okay, I have an example that we're using internally, but for your industry, it might look very, very different. So for us internally, like Apify has been a really, really cool tool that scrapes leads. Transparently, by the way, if you're doing coaching and info, this is probably not. I wouldn't do cold like email for coaching. I would do it for like services and for expensive services. Like if you're selling something that's you make a good commission on, you guys have to keep in mind, by the way, you guys, your profit margins are what? 100% as a closer? If you pay taxes, right? If you move to Dominican Republic, like Jeremy Miner's closers, then you got 0 taxes. Your margins are 100%, man. Like, to invest in a tool like this to get access to more leads, it's kind of a no-brainer. You make $1,000 a call, a close that you take. You close a $10,000 widget. You make $1,000. Yeah, I would invest $50 to get that lead, $100 to get that lead. I would even do it $150 to get that lead, right? So start looking into these tools that you can invest in, and then think about it. You start getting these tools, you start getting access to more leads, and then you close them, and then you go to your business owner, you go to your sales manager, you go to your leader, you say, hey, I just spent $100, I got this lead, I closed him, I made you $10,000. Who do you think that sales manager is gonna like more? The guy on the left who's like, hey, where's my new leads? Where's my inbound warm? These guys are too cold, they don't know who you are. You know, I can't close them. Or the guy that's like, yeah, I just did the thing and just got more leads and closed them for you, you know? Who do you think is gonna make more money? Who do you think is gonna get the promotion or the raise or the bump, right? You guys, like, I was connecting over dinner with one of Jeremy's closers last night. He built an entire brand to sell more of Jeremy's shit. He built an entire brand to help sell that. Could you imagine how much more valuable he is to Jeremy than the guy that's not even willing to do outbound? Could you imagine? If you guys start to think in that difference, and you guys start to think about what you can bring to the table with your activity, with your workflows, with your effort, and then not just that, but with these tools and systems that you invest in, you will get so much further. I would not be standing here as COO if I did not do that, by the way. Every system that we did as a company for the first probably 2 to 3 years, I did not ask Ambro to pay for until I knew it worked, just because I cared too much about how he viewed me and how I treat his money, you know, at the beginning. So that's just the truth. I just paid for it and then was like, it works, great. And then I went to Ambro, I was like, hey, can you pay for this? It's kind of expensive. And then he paid for it. Cool. So yeah, one of the tools we use Apify. It works really, really well. You can connect it to Claude, so you don't have to, be technical, and you could just scrape leads. If you're doing a service, you could scrape leads, or you could scrape like referral partners. Might be for the salespeople, might be higher leverage, because if you scrape referral partners, if you get one of them, you can get multiple deals from it, right? But if you just scrape leads, you get one deal. So if you're selling like, I don't know, funding, right? If you're selling business funding, you might want to find businesses that service business owners, and then you might want to find businesses that service business owners but help them do something that's kind of expensive. And then you might want to reach out to all of them and be like, hey, do your clients need money? I might be able to help them, right? And you send like 10,000 of those emails. So you have to get creative. I can't do all the work for you. Depending on your offer, you got to get a little bit creative to find who's the best person that I can hit to get the best outcome. But if you're selling like a $30,000 offer, I would go direct to them and just do emails, text. If you want to get really crazy on a Sunday, you can just actually automate with AI the first email, and then you just press a button and it'll do all of that for you. So, to button this all up, I had no skill, I had no time, I had no advantage, but I had a system, and it helps, like I said, that I had work ethic and I had drive. Definitely helps. Skill is the asset, systems are the multiplier. Guys, thank you very much for spending the time with me.
So that is the Closer operating system in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed it and took away a ton of value. Now, it's super important to understand that talking to more people during the day is the single most important thing that you can do as a closer to earn more money. But the one thing I did not cover within that keynote that you guys just watched, how to get more people to actually show up to the conversations that they've booked with you and to the sales calls they've scheduled on your calendar. That is half the battle. The first half is everything we just spent the last 40 minutes looking over. Those 3 systems, those 3 layers, that is the first half. The second half is getting them to show up. So click on this link somewhere on the screen for the next video where I'm showing you exactly how to get a 70% show up rate on whatever business, product, or offer that you're selling on, using the exact systems and levers that we use internally at Net Revenue to get those levels of show up rate across the board. Thanks for watching. If you like this, please like the video, subscribe. We're on a mission to get to 1,000 subscribers as a channel, so every bit of support from you guys helps. So that's it. I'm Scott Rodriguez. I will be seeing you guys on the next video.